Hi, I'm Adam,
This is Kevin.
and we are Tech Guys Who Invest. This is the place for business people and investors to learn all about investing. We offer a fresh perspective on what it's like to have a day job while investing, and we share lessons learned on our investing journey. Our vision is to educate and entertain you while adding tons of value to your daily commute. Welcome to our show.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Tech Guys Who Invest podcast. On this episode, Adam and I walk you through the difference between a passive investor and an active investor, what that is, what that means, and how you can decide between whether or not you want to be a passive investor or an active investor. If you're an investor right now, we'd love to hear what type of investing that you're doing. And if you want to be a guest on the show, please reach out to us, techguyswhoinvest@gmail.com. Let us know in the comment sections of this post as well what type of investor you are, or if you want to be an investor, would you rather be passive or would you rather be active?
Hey, Kevin, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Adam. I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. So, Kevin, I saw a recent pic of you. I believe it was on Instagram where you were throwing some weight up over your head. I know you're like a big weightlifter. So, how much weight did you throw up over your head there?
Well, that one was only 95 pounds because I'm coming off of a shoulder injury. It took me, I guess, around 8 months to get back to that level.
Wow.
And it's funny because I was feeling fine at one point and I was like, oh yeah, my ego got in the way and said, yeah, we're fine to lift. Let's just go. I lifted again and then I re-injured it and it got worse. So then I was like, I matured, got wiser and said, okay, let me go see a physical therapist.
Yeah, man. Well, it may not sound like a lot to you, but I don't know too many people who can just throw that up over their head and then like wink at the camera the way you did.
We'll put the link in the show notes.
Yeah, dude, you have to. I thought that was awesome.
Thanks.
Very cool. How about on the note investing front? Any recent updates to your note investing ventures?
Absolutely. So I originated a note in the past for a second position mortgage on a property because I loaned money out in my self-directed IRA to secure that loan. Because you can loan money and it be unsecured, but then what happens if the borrower stops paying? What can you collect to make your money back? So real estate is kind of a common way to do it. And this time what I did instead was loaned money out of my self-directed IRA, which is now secured by trucks. So I officially have a lien on 2 trucks from the borrower. And you're thinking, well, trucks are depreciating assets. And you're absolutely correct, which is why for the amount of money I loaned out, I covered 2 trucks for the lien. And it was such a unique situation that I have my IRA with Advance IRA. They were like, we don't see this very often. So this is interesting. So we had to kind of figure out what exactly they needed. And when I went to the Florida DMV, it was actually a lot more pleasant experience than I thought it would be. But it was also the people I was talking to, like, I've never seen this before. Hold on, let me go talk to somebody. So I went to the DMV. They said I needed some extra form. Went back to Advance. I went back to the DMV. So I was back and forth 3 different times in the single day. And they're right next to each other. So it worked out. But I loaned money out at 8%. Interest only over the next 5 years or so, and it's secured by trucks. So
Nice.
what that means is, in the event the borrower doesn't pay, which I don't see that happening, but of course it's possible. I would my self-directed IRA, more specifically, would repossess those trucks, and technically I couldn't drive those trucks because there's like some legal stuff with self-directed IRAs that we'll get into in another episode. But basically, I would have to hire somebody else to drive the truck, find somewhere to store it because I couldn't store it on my own property because that's against the rules of self-directed IRA.
Wow, man, that's cool though. I love hearing unique and stories that you don't hear of very often. That's really neat to me.
It's all about just asking the right questions. It's not thinking, oh, well, I can't do this. Well, let's think about how we can do this.
Yeah, you got creative and made the deal happen. I think that's really cool.
Exactly. That's an operative word there. You said made the deal. We created the deal. We didn't necessarily find the deal. It was a matter of negotiating. Like, hey, what do you need? Well, I have money I can lend you. How can you protect me?
Yeah, that's a part of what we're talking about today here, right?
Exactly. So I think that creating that deal was very much a win-win situation for everybody involved.
Yeah, that's awesome. And negotiating and creating a deal, figuring out how you can make it work for everyone involved is part of what active investors do.
Absolutely. So that's the topic for today. We're going to discuss passive investing versus active investing. And the reason I think that we want to establish this is because it's just really important to understand what you can do and what options are out there when it comes to investing.
Especially since we know a lot of our listeners are professionals who work day jobs, a lot of times busy professionals working long hours. And those people don't have time to do a lot of the things that we're going to be explaining this episode. So typically we see them as a better fit for passive investing because they probably do have capital that they want to invest. They want to make a nice return on their capital. They just don't have time to go do all of the activities associated with active investing.
Agreed. And as a disclaimer, and just to clarify as well, when we say passive investing, if somebody says you're going to be 100% passive in this investment, they're never going to talk to you, don't invest with that person. Run away, run for the hills, just kind of block that person's number. You don't need to talk to them anymore because they're basically just going to scam you. That's a red flag to me. I think
Yeah.
passive is more so, hey, I want to let you know this is what we're doing. This is what's happening. You're in the loop. You're in constant communication with that more active counterpart in the partnership.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, it's really important that you're investing with someone who educates you, as very open and transparent about what they're doing, and explains the all of the pieces and parts of what they're doing, since this is your investment.
Yeah, when we talk about passive versus active, you'll hear a lot of things like joint ventures or syndications. And a joint venture is basically you're partnering up with one party. And the idea there's very much of an abundance mentality, excuse me, where you are bringing the capital, the active investor is bringing the deal. And it's you rely on the active investor to have done the due diligence, analyzed it, have some sense of what the risks are involved, what exit strategies are involved, and your relationship with that active investor, you're bringing that capital. So there's a definitely a idea of working together and collaborating.
Right. And I think passive investing, to kind of define it at a high level, is bringing something to the deal and not having to do a lot of work on an ongoing basis to maintain the deal. It's bringing, for example, capital to the deal and then receiving a return on your investment, with minimal action involved on your part.
So you speak a lot of the work and action. Just for our listeners, what type of action and work are you referring to if they were wanting to be an active investor?
Yeah, active investors are very busy people, as we both know, because all of the components that it takes to put together an investment require a lot of work on every end. It begins with getting leads for investment opportunities.
Yeah,
So,
agreed.
if you're investing in notes, you have to find notes to invest in. If you're investing in real property, you have to buy properties to invest in. Well, there's lots of things for sale out there. Most of those are not deals. Most of those are not profitable. Lots of people are buying unprofitable deals right now, especially at this time in the market cycle. I mean, I am seeing that everywhere. It's scary how many people are overpaying for deals right now. And I'm actually worried for their investors, for people who are investing in those deals. But there's a lot of work in finding deals. You have to actually source the deals themselves, and then you have to do a lot of work around analysis to make sure that they're going to be profitable and that they are good investment opportunities. So that's just the first part. That's just finding the deals. There's also a lot of work in funding the deals. So getting leads of people who would be interested in investing capital in the deal. Again, there
Yeah.
are a lot of people out there with capital. It's important to find people whose investment goals and objectives line up to the type of investment opportunity you're presenting. So you have to find those people and make sure you establish a relationship with them and understand their goals and match them up to an opportunity that works for everyone. Those are
Yeah,
just two
yeah.
things. What do you think, Kevin, or
I
more?
agree. I agree with you 100%. And to take it into a different context, if you have a 401k or if you invested in the stock market and say an index fund, you're more of a passive investor, right? You're researching what funds maybe like I'm willing to bet that most people aren't doing as much due diligence, and myself included. When I was doing a 401k, I was like, I don't even know exactly what I'm looking at. I'm just going to pick this. This looks good. Whatever, run with it. I'm sure a lot of people have done the same thing, right? But if you wanted to, you could do more research on who those fund managers are, what the percent of assets that are being held, the types of assets that are being held by this fund. But a lot of the work is coming from that fund, those fund managers. They're doing a lot of the work that you are investing in as the passive investor. So it's no different. I just wanted to kind of bring a different example to highlight that you're basically more familiar with that term as a passive investor.
Yeah, I like that and thinking about it in those terms because a lot of times we, as kind of the end customer buying the fund, don't think about all the work that's going on behind the scenes, all the way down to the trading floor. Right? There's just a lot of work that goes into exchanging the funds and managing the funds and all of that.
Yeah. So I was just wanting to bring that up that if it seems like, well, this seems unfamiliar to me, you probably have experienced this before, just not necessarily in the context of real estate.
Right. Right. And just continue on with some other things in real estate that active investors do are negotiating the deal. So once you find the deal and you analyze the deal and you get funding lined up for the deal, there's the whole process of bringing it to close. And that's a lot of hard work. And it can be stressful as well because you're trying to make sure that your due diligence finds everything that may be wrong with the property that you need to consider and needs to be built into the deal. You don't want to close on a property and then find out there are issues that are very expensive that you didn't know about. So you're trying to find all of that stuff and uncover it. There are methods for doing that. It involves getting inspectors and getting contractors to look at it. And there's just a lot of activity that goes into part of bringing the deal home and closing it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And if you wanted to be more passive or active, it like wherever you are on the spectrum is completely up to you. I think that's also what we want to say is if you want to be more of a passive investor, that's great. If you want to be more of an active investor, that's great too. Personally, what I think also needs to be the absolute first and foremost step, and maybe this is because I'm an educator at heart, is to get educated. Learn what it is you're potentially wanting to invest in. Learn about the people you are potentially going to invest with. Right? I think that's just kind of the most logical and a safe way to approach that whole process.
Yeah, I agree totally. It's important to really understand what it is that you're investing in and who you're investing with, and that's something Kevin and I both encourage, and it's something we both enjoy doing. We like to teach people. So if you're going to be investing, say you wanted to invest capital with Kevin and buy some notes. Kevin's going to teach you what he's doing and share as much of that as you're interested in with you while he does it, and explain to you what's happening behind the scenes. Some people want to know all those details, and we both love that because we like teaching people. And some people are not as concerned with it, and they're going to be more comfortable with, look, just give me the highlights, the performance metrics, and the progress, and they're going to be okay with that. And that's okay too if that's what they want.
Yeah. So, how could a passive investor with capital find an active investor? What would you recommend them do if they're like, you know what, I want a better return on my money that's just sitting in a savings account that's not even hedging against inflation?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think that there's a little bit of networking involved there, and again, some education. So really understanding what type of deals you might be interested in or be comfortable with, and then doing some good old fashioned networking. I think to find some of those people, and you'll have to do a little homework. Some background on who those folks are. There are a lot of them out there. You just want to be sure that you're investing in someone you trust. I think building a relationship once you find them is really important. So you need to get to know them a little bit. And if it's someone you're going to be investing in, they should be willing to take time to do that. So, for example, if you wanted to invest with someone like me, I would be taking time to meet with you. If you weren't here in Tampa, where I could get coffee with you, um, or grab lunch with you, I would be setting up a video call. And Kevin, I think you'd probably be doing the same if there are any other techniques you have. Those would be interesting to hear about as well.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much the same thing. If you're local to the Tampa area, I'd love to meet, grab coffee, you grab food, and I'm always down to eat and break bread with people. If it's not in Tampa, then a phone call or a Zoom video, I think is huge too, because we can see face to face, we can interact, and it's more of just like a phone call. We're building a relationship, it feels like.
Yeah, and anybody who you're going to invest with should be willing to do those things with you, because it's important that you build trust and you build a relationship.
So now let's talk about the alternative. If I'm an active investor looking for passive investors, what would you recommend, Adam, would be a good way to do that?
So education like we do, Kevin, is a good way to do that. I mean, Kevin and I host a cash flow game in Tampa. Every 3 weeks, we play Robert Kiyosaki's cash flow game. And it's a great way to teach people, but also raise their awareness about what we do. And so those people who are interested in increasing their financial intelligence are often also looking for a place to invest. So going to events or holding events like that are good ways to do that. Speaking or blogging, the podcast, things like that are great ways. Do you have others, Kevin?
No, I think that's it. I think that's more of leading with value, of finding ways to let people know, hey, this is what you're doing. This is what's happening. This is how I'm solving these problems. This is how I'm adding value to my investors.
Yeah.
One thing that, like a big disclaimer, I know that there are very specific rules that the SEC has laid out as to how you're allowed to raise capital, say using social media. So if you're thinking of raising capital, talk to a lawyer or do your own research, because you don't want to mess around with the SEC and cross that line.
Yeah, it's very important.
Yeah, that's the last thing you want.
And they're cracking down on people right now. Like, I have seen several articles. I mean, scary stuff. People are actually raising capital by advertising deals on Facebook and attracting people to those deals, getting in big trouble over that. You cannot do that stuff. So, like Kevin said, find a good attorney who specializes in this type of law to advise you.
And if you're questioning who you should reach out to, you can reach out to us and we'll find a lawyer that we believe will be able to help you best. And I'm sure if they can't, they'll know somebody as well. It's all about networking, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is the thing I was going to add is it's really about building relationships. So that's another way, kind of tied into what I already mentioned, but explicitly building relationships with people is a way to raise capital, because once you give a good return on the investment with someone, then they are going to tell others about it, and that's just a great way to do it.
Yeah, it's funny because I was adding people on Instagram, networking on Instagram, and I added somebody. I'd never seen this person before, met them in my life, and they sent me some automated message about, hey, if you invest this much, I can promise you this much. I was like, wait, what? Like, I don't know you, and B, yeah. I'm pretty certain what you just did is illegal.
Very scary.
Yeah. It's like, and it's unfortunate because you can sometimes, I can't speak for the people because I don't know them, but I can imagine they can use it to prey on people that just don't know any better. And that's how people get scammed out of their entire life savings.
Yeah, it is. It's, you just have to be really careful. Even professionals get scammed, and people who are well respected. I think there was someone in the news fairly recently, actually, that just got brought up on charges for a Ponzi type scheme. He was a pretty well known guy and respected in some financial circles too. So it surprised a lot of people.
That's insane. So don't do that.
Don't do that.
All right. Well, that's it for this episode. We really would love to interact with all of you. If you go to the TGWIpodcast.com, search for the latest episode here. More specifically, it's TGWIpodcast.com/passive investing. We will leave us a reply, fill out that form. We'd love to hear your thoughts on either raising capital or networking, what's working for you, what's not working for you. Or you can send us an email, techguyswhoinvest@gmail.com.
We'd also like to interact with you on YouTube, also Instagram. So if you can go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel, which is named Tech Guys Who Invest, you can leave comments there, and we'd love to hear from you.
And if you can, please, of course, always leave us a review, whether you love it or hate it. We'd love to hear from you as well.
That's it for this episode of Tech Guys Who Invest. This is Adam.
And this is Kevin. Thank you so much for listening to us. Don't forget to join our Facebook page where we're building a community of investors so that we can share ideas, tips, and other ways to help us get out of the rat race. If you found value in this podcast, it would mean the world to us if you could share it with your network. Lastly, we love feedback. It's how we get better. So if you wouldn't mind spending 30 seconds and leaving us an honest review on iTunes or Stitcher or whatever platform you're using, that would be super sweet. If you want to get on Adam or Kevin's calendar, go to tgwipodcast.com/contact. We want to help you invest safely, wisely, and ultimately get you out of the rat race. Thanks again.